All right, and welcome today to the Prof Show. Boy, do we have a show for you. Tonight's show is called Indiana State Police Humiliated as Another Dirty Cop is Exposed. Earl Mayo, Jerry Williams, and Doug Carter. We've got all the receipts for you. No one else has what we're going to show you tonight, including the fact that Mr. Mayo knew that what he was doing was consisting of several federal crimes, and he says, "Hey, I have things inside my house that the feds would never find." So, if you're interested in learning the truth about what's going on here in Indiana in the continuously scandalous exposés of what's going on with the corrupt law enforcement, court system, and prosecutors and legal system, this is a place you want to be. Anyway, welcome to the Prof Show. Please hit the like on the way in. Come in, make yourself comfortable, and we'll be right back momentarily. Welcome in.
It was our job to help law enforcement.
Prof is a fucking terrorist, a fucking pedophile, sympathizing fucking terrorist.
It's not productive. It's kind of gross and icky, and I feel like it tells us more about them than the people they're trying to degrade. They're always trying to degrade someone.
It was our job to help law enforcement. It was our job to help law enforcement.
Prof is a fucking terrorist.
It's not productive.
Prof is a fucking terrorist.
It's not productive.
Prof is a fucking terrorist. A fucking pedophile, sympathizing fucking terrorist.
Okay. Enough of that. All right, welcome in. So tonight we are here to discuss some recent developments in Indiana, over in New Chicago and Lake County. This is called the arrest and the charges against Earl Mayo, and you're going to learn about it tonight. I want to thank everyone for being here. Look, in full disclosure, I've been working on this for about a week, and regretfully, I hadn't yet come forward because I was waiting on all the documentation from the legal system, and I finally obtained all that in the past couple days, and I'm just getting around to be able to sit down here and talk about it because I wanted to finish up with the appeal of Richard Allen first. But needless to say, I've been chomping at the bit to share this story, and that's what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to tell you all that's going on with Earl Mayo, and you're going to be surprised. And and I think it's part of a larger scheme here and part of a larger operation. But we'll find out, I guess. Um, but there's a lot to be said about it, and I'm going to show you as much as I possibly can in our little format. I want to welcome everyone here. Deb, thanks for being here. Deb's my mod, everybody. So please respect Deb in the chat. Respect her authority, and also go ahead and tell her thank you for being here. And she's posted the link tree and some of our support pathways. We appreciate all you can do to sustain us here as we're trying our best to share the pertinent information with you about what's really going on these streets. I want to thank Bless Metz for being here, Peachy26, the Court of Public Opinion, who's reminding you all to subscribe, like, comment, and share this stream now. Yeah, by the way, please do share this stream now because you want everyone to be aware of what's really going on. You're going to be astonished by what's going on with this guy. Okay, because you see, I gotta tell you, I regret doing this show tonight. Okay, this is the type of show I don't want to have to come and talk about. You know, the thing about guys like this prove the case as to why people hate the cops. You understand? Guys like this dishonor the badge. They do a dishonor to every cop who's actually been a good cop, an honorable cop, those cops who have died in the line of service, and all this, that, and the other. A guy like this is the reason that people despise cops. Okay, and so I regret having to come talk about a dirty cop like this because a guy like this taints the badge. Okay. And it's a damn shame. But I mean, that's where we are. That's where we are, especially in Indiana, especially in this corner of Indiana where Jerry Holman, David Vito, and all these guys have absolute monarchy over this portion of Indiana. It's absolutely dirty. Look, shame on Indiana. Shame, shame, shame. All right, what's up? Elizabeth Jones is here. Who's her daddy? Warrior for Truth right there. Who's her daddy 11? What's up, Who's we got Critter Mama. What up, Critter Mama? Critter Mama's in here. Elizabeth Jones, like I said. Brenda Mays, hello to you. Okay. Richard. We got MJ Lewis, 1964. Pertinent. And Christopher, Criminal Sociology, Anarch 00141. Yeah, you're right. You're right, MJ Lewis. You'll find out. Okay, we're going to find out tonight. Blue Horizons. Mustang, thank you for the super chat. $5 super chat for Mustang. Thank you, Mustang. What you got to say, Mustang? Tripper, 1981. What's up with you? Thanks for being here. All right. So anyhow, for those of you who don't know what's going on here and what this is all about and why the prof is so vocal and disgusted, there's a bad apple in every bunch. Yep. Hey, thank you, MJ Lewis, for the 1999 super chat. You guys, thanks. I appreciate the support. Hopefully I'll earn it tonight. Okay, because this whole thing has taken us some money and it's taken us a good week of work to put this together. And you'll see. We'll dive into it. I got a lot of oh, it's Trooper Joe. Now I see you. What's up, Trooper Joe? An honorable officer here, State Trooper Joe, retired Master Trooper, Indiana State Police. I'm glad to have your input, Mr. Joe, and I appreciate you being here. It's great to see you. Great to see you, Trooper Joe. Yeah, tonight we're going to have to, unfortunately, we're going to have to talk about some compromised law enforcement officers. And then I think in the next show or two, we got a couple more to talk about. You know, it's absolutely heartbreaking, disgusting. And it's a sad situation that we have people trying to take advantage of the badge, you know, basically. But anyway, for those of you who don't know what's going on, I know our Indiana natives, they probably have somewhat of an idea of what we're diving into tonight, but just to get us rolling, I'm going to start off here with trying to catch you guys up on what's going on. You see, this is him right here. Okay. So right here, you're talking about a guy named Earl Mayo. Okay. Earl Mayo, the police chief. Okay. The police chief of New Chicago, Indiana. So it says here, charges filed against New Chicago, Indiana police chief Earl Mayo after arrest in Ohio. Now, let's be clear. He was arrested in Ohio as being a fugitive from justice. So this headline's a little misleading here, but you can see this goes back a few days. Okay, now we were on this for the past week. I just have not brought it to you guys because I was so busy with other things and I was waiting on the actual indictment and all of that. But here you go with Earl Mayo. Okay, so there's a lot to this guy that I'm going to teach you about tonight. Okay. So what it says is here is Northwest Indiana Police Chief Earl Mayo was arrested in Ohio on Friday and now facing charges. Okay. Now what it doesn't tell you there is that old Earl Mayo was a fugitive from justice over in Ohio. That's why he was picked up out there. He's going to be extradited. It says charges against Earl Mayo were filed in Lake County, Indiana on Sunday. He's charged with official misconduct, obstruction of justice, theft, and unlawful possession of an anabolic steroid. This comes after Mayo's father, Indiana State Police Major, and Lake County Sheriff hopeful candidate, right, for the Democratic Party, Jerry Williams, confirmed the arrest. Okay. Officials said investigators searched Mayo's home in Maryville. Okay. Now, we're going to skip forward here. Here's another story. It says police chief was arrested in Clark County, allegedly sold gun that was in evidence. Okay. So in other words, the shortest version to the bottom line in this particular indictment is that this guy, Earl Mayo, police chief of New Chicago, Indiana, he took a firearm that was part of an active criminal case, a piece of evidence, a firearm that was evidence in a case, and he went and sold this at a pawn shop for profit, okay? Not realizing that it was still evidence. And when he realized it was evidence, he tried to undo it, but it was too late because he was already being watched. Okay, so let's read through this quickly. A police chief from New Chicago, Indiana was arrested in Clark County, allegedly sold a gun at a pawn shop that was being used as evidence in an ongoing investigation. Okay? Court records from Clark County said Mayo is facing a fugitive from justice charge. The Indiana Judicial Branch lists Mayo as facing the following charges as well. 1 count of theft of a firearm. Okay? So you go theft of a firearm, 2 counts of official misconduct, 1 count of obstruction of justice, 2 counts of unlawful possession of anabolic steroids, and 1 count of theft with a prior conviction of theft and or conversion. All of them are listed as felonies. That's right. A bunch of felonies this guy's got on his back right now. Okay. And there's your guy. There's Mayo. There's Mayo right there. Court documents filed over the weekend say Mayo illegally stole a Taurus G3 handgun that had been used as evidence by the New Chicago Police Department in a criminal investigation and sold it at Mega Cash Pawn in Hobart for profit, according to the reporting from the Times of Northwest Indiana. Mayo allegedly tried to have a police officer, a subordinate, go to the pawn shop to get the gun and go to his Maryville residence or home to get more firearms from his safe, according to the news report. It gets deeper. You'll learn momentarily. The report said Mayo told the police officer who was supposed to retrieve the items that the feds would never find the firearms and suppressors. Okay, it says other materials here, but basically he had a whole bunch of suppressors. Okay, the outlet said Lake County detectives seized the firearm from the pawn shop before Mayo or any other officer could retrieve and fucking go ditch the gun. Okay, it says the outlet said the detective obtained a Mega Cash Pawn receipt in which Mayo allegedly sold the firearm and 11 other firearms. Okay. In addition, the detective discovered Mayo initially sent an accomplice to the pawn shop with $600 to retrieve the gun. That's right. The report said prosecutors from Lake County charged Mayo's accomplice with 2 counts of attempted assisting a criminal, a felony, attempted obstruction of justice, and 2 counts of possessing an illegal anabolic steroid she allegedly tried to dispose of. Okay. Now, from the Chicago Tribune, the Chicago Post-Tribune, okay? New Chicago officials unsure of background check on police chief. It gets deeper because, look, I'm going to tell you right here. I'm going to tell you right now what's going on. The attempt to escape accountability for all of these people is currently in full force. These people are trying to get out from under this like you would not believe. Wait till you hear all this. Okay, these people are squirming right now. And I guarantee you, Jerry Holman and Doug Carter are squirming right now. Okay, so there's your guy. There's your guy. Enough said. I'm not going to say it. Don't say it, Prof. Don't say it. I won't. Okay. New Chicago town officials couldn't immediately determine if they completed a background check on Police Chief Earl Mayo before he was appointed chief in 2023. Hey, Erica, you hear that? 4-pitch, you hear that? New Chicago town officials couldn't even determine if they completed a background check on this police chief. That's right, because he's got a criminal history as long as you can imagine. He's got so many felonies you would not believe, including multiple felonies for impersonating a police officer. That's right. That's right. You're going to learn about that. I got it all. You guys just wait. I'm going to prove it all to you. Okay, yeah. New Chicago town officials couldn't determine if they completed a background check on your boy. Authorities charged Mayo of Maryville with 7 felonies on Sunday related to selling guns confiscated in town police investigations and selling them to a Hobart pawn shop, and for allegedly possessing anabolic steroids. Police arrested him in Ohio on May 22nd because he was trying to run, okay, once he realized he was in deep shit. He's currently being held in Clark County Jail in Springfield, okay? When the extradition process is complete in Ohio, Lake County Sheriff's Department police officers will pick up Earl Mayo and bring him back to Lake County. Sheriff Oscar Martinez Jr. says, well, hell, this is a problem here because do you know who Oscar Martinez Jr. is? He's tied in over to the Greek mafia bust that we were just talking about last week, and we're going to be talking about in the next show. Yeah, so now we have multiple layers of conflicts of interest. So not only does Sheriff Oscar Martinez now have control of Mayo, right? But Sheriff Oscar Martinez is running against Earl Mayo's daddy. That's right. That's right. You're going to learn about that momentarily too. Okay. It says the Lake County Prosecutor's Office also charged Tanika Roshan Borders, 47, of Maryville for assisting Mayo and for possession of the steroids. Charges have rocked the 1 square mile town where Mayo led community service events and is now on administrative leave. It's very much a shocking surprise to us. In my experience with him, he's been an exemplary police officer. Now we're finding out things he allegedly did, said town attorney, look at this name, Lloyd Mullen. Lloyd Mullen. Here you got a Mullen now. Now, this is the same Mullen who neglected to do a background check on this guy with a whole litany of felonies in his history, okay? A lot of people feel really let down. He had done a lot of good things for the community. He reached out to children at Christmas time. He tried to get the kids bicycles. Police Commissioner President John Krikava said he didn't have Mayo's file available. When I'm telling you, they are squirming under this controversy here. Okay, so now one doesn't know. He can't immediately determine why no background check was done on this guy. And then the other guy, the police commissioner president, says, oh, well, we don't have his file immediately available, but I'll have to check on the records. Mullen said the commission is expected to place Mayo on suspension during its June 1st meeting. Yeah, I think that would be the right thing to do. On Friday, Lake County Sheriff Oscar Martinez, that's the guy I'm telling you about, Oscar Martinez, announced the county police took over policing. What? So now this guy has taken over the position of Mayo's police department. So now Lake County sheriffs are policing New Chicago. Okay. All right. Before Mayo became chief, Mullen said he had been a member of the department. Mullen was unsure if town officials, here we go. So Mullen was unsure if town officials checked Mayo's background. Can you believe it? Yeah. Mullen was unsure if town officials checked Mayo's background. I don't know, but he'd been a police officer for 5 years, Mullen said of Mayo's status before he was named chief. A public access site of Indiana court dockets showed a theft misdemeanor conviction in 2000. That ain't all that's on his history. We're going to look at that momentarily. The case stems from Gary Police Department. Mullen was unsure of Mayo's salary. Krikava said the town council set salaries. Mullen thought Mayo received about $26 an hour for a $48 week. A public records database, Indiana Gateway, showed Mayo received a total of $100,000, 238 from New Chicago last year. Okay, $100,000 salary. He also received $892 as a student resource officer for River Forest Community School Corporation. Chief Mayo has been removed from our school resource officer list pending the outcome of the investigation, River Forest Superintendent said. Okay, the Gateway database listed town manager Sue Pelfrey receiving $48,000 in 2025. In a Tuesday email, Myra Maldonado, public information officer for Lake County prosecutor, said there will be a case-by-case review of all cases filed by Mayo. He faces 7 felonies. That's right, 7 felonies.
It was our job to help law enforcement,
including 2 theft counts, 2 official misconduct counts, 1 attempted obstruction of justice count, and 2 counts of unlawful possession of an anabolic steroid. Alleged thefts came to light after police tracked a firearms trace from a deputy prosecutor for a handgun. Police said it had been seized as evidence by New Chicago police. The trace led to Hobart at a pawn shop, and the pawn shop manager told police Mayo sold 12 guns to the shop. Mayo is the son of Lake County Democratic Sheriff nominee, Indiana State Police Major Jerry Williams. And when I said that these people are all trying to squirm out from under this at the moment, listen to what Mayo's father, Indiana State Police Major Jerry Williams, said. If it is ultimately established that Earl engaged in the conduct alleged by the government, then he must and should accept all responsibility for his actions and face the consequences. So let's look at Earl Mayo's my case. Okay. So in this particular filing, we're going to look at this right quick. There you go. There's his charges. He's got felony 5, theft use when property is a stolen firearm. Felony 6, misconduct, official misconduct, a public servant, knowingly or intentionally. Okay. F6, obstruction of justice. Alters, damages, or removes any record. Official misconduct, felony 6, knowingly or intentionally. You got 2 steroid felonies. You got a theft, prior conviction for theft or conversion, and you got a theft. Okay. Now, what I want to show you, let's forego this for a moment, and let's pull up this little thing right here. Is that what I want to show you? No, that ain't it yet. Sorry. Yeah, that's what I want to show you, the charges. There you go. So here are his actual charges here. He's got, let me get rid of this banner so we can see the bottom of the page. Okay, here's what he's looking at here. Count one. Okay, count one, a level 5 felony. Earl Donnell Mayo did knowingly or intentionally exert unauthorized control over a Taurus G3, the property of Town of New Chicago, with the intent to deprive Town of New Chicago any part of the use or value of the firearm. Okay, so this is first count one, theft, a level 5 felony, theft of the firearm. Count 2, official misconduct. Okay, Earl Donnell Mayo, a public servant, to wit, chief of police of the Town of New Chicago, knowingly or intentionally committed an offense, to wit, theft, in performance of his official duties, contrary to Indiana Code 3544-1111. Count 3, attempted obstruction of justice, a level 6 felony. Earl Donnell Mayo did attempt to remove a firearm with the intent to prevent said item from being produced or used as evidence in a criminal investigation. That's right. Count 4, official misconduct, a level 6 felony. Okay. Earl Donnell Mayo, a public servant, to wit, chief of police of the Town of New Chicago, knowingly or intentionally committed an offense, to wit, attempted obstruction of justice in performance of his official duties, right? He attempted to hide the evidence. Count 5, unlawful possession of anabolic steroid, level 6 felony. Okay, Earl Donnell Mayo did knowingly possess an anabolic steroid, to wit, Trenbolone, without a valid prescription or drug order issued by practitioner. Okay, another count of unlawful possession. Okay, this time Earl Donnell Mayo did knowingly possess equipoise. Okay, without a valid prescription. Count 7 or 6. No, this is 7. This is a level 6 felony. Earl Donnell Mayo did knowingly or intentionally exert unauthorized control over the property of Town of New Chicago, to wit, a Taurus G3, with intent to deprive Town of New Chicago. Okay. And then there's another one. Count 8. So they added a count. Okay. So the additional says here, Earl Donnell Mayo did knowingly or intentionally exert unauthorized control. Okay. Right? So let's go back before we get into this. I want to show you something. I want to show you his my case record here. Okay, notice there's 21. Okay, 21. Check this guy out, right? So what do we have here? We have Thomas Sandberg, Danielle Torkelson versus Earl Mayo, Officer 620. We're going to look at that momentarily. Okay. We got Passion Thomas versus Earl Mayo. Okay. So it's both 2024. We got Brian Loon versus Town of New Chicago and Earl Mayo. Russell Cunningham versus Earl Mayo. We got Haven Hobart Apartments versus Earl Mayo. We got LV Funding versus Earl Mayo. Sleep Center versus Earl Mayo. We got State of Indiana versus Earl Mayo for speeding. We got American Acceptance Company, okay, versus Earl Mayo. American Acceptance versus Earl Mayo. Earl Mayo versus Reynolds Heating and Cooling, right? We got Carabestos versus Quantandra Watson and Mayo, okay? We got State of Indiana versus Mayo for speeding again. We got State of Indiana versus Earl Mayo for check deception. We got State of Indiana versus Earl Mayo for another count of another case of check deception. Look at here. We got check cashers versus Earl Mayo. In small claims, we got Bob and Mel's Auto versus Earl Mayo. In small claims, we got Michael and Joanne Proctor DBA Renaissance versus Mayo. In small claims, we got State of Indiana versus Earl Donnell Mayo in 2000. Fraud. Look at this one. State of Indiana versus Earl Mayo, right? in 2000. What do we got him for? We got him a felony, right? For fraud, theft, resisting law enforcement, impersonation of a law enforcement officer. Okay? So we got some felonies here for impersonation. And look, we even got another one here. What's this one here? We got State of Indiana versus Earl Mayo, 1999, resisting law enforcement and impersonation of an officer. So here we got Earl Mayo, okay, impersonation resisting, right? And what did we just look at? Impersonation resisting felony. Impersonation resisting fraud and theft felonies. Okay, we got small claims, small claims, small claims, small claims, small claims, check deception, check deception, check deception, right? Small claims, small claims, small claims, small claims, right? Check deception. Funding for creditors. Okay, then we got some. We got this one and this one. So let's look at this Sanderberg, Torkelson, Mayo. Oh, what do we have here? What do we have here? Oh, listen, maybe Prof should read some of these. Okay, we'll get to that momentarily. Let's see. See if I can find this one. Which one is this one? Here we got the Sanderberg and Torkelson. Okay, that's the incident prior to this one. Check this one out. Okay, check this one out. Look at these accusations. Okay, let's check out these accusations here. Comes now plaintiff Sanderberg, Torkelson. Okay, complaint for damages against Earl Mayo. And allege the following. On about October 22nd, 2022, Sanderberg was a resident of Lake County. Torkelson was a resident of Lake County. Okay. Earl Mayo was a sworn police officer of the city of New Chicago, acting under the color of state law. He was a sworn police officer. Incidents complained herein occurred in Lake County, Indiana. Count 1, Section 1983. Okay. Illegal seizure by plaintiff Sanderberg. Plaintiffs, by reference, incorporate and reallege all preceding rhetorical paragraphs. On or about October 22nd, 2022, plaintiffs were at their residence located in Hobart, Indiana. Defendant, Officer Earl Mayo, arrived at the residence and made contact with plaintiff Sanderberg. After a discussion, Officer Earl Mayo arrested Sanderberg. Sanderberg was transported to Lake County. Officer Mayo did not have probable cause to arrest Sanderberg. Officer Mayo's actions were under the color of state law. The complaint against the individual defendant is for damages arising out of a violation of civil rights pertaining to plaintiff. Okay? Section 1983, count 2, excessive force by plaintiff Sanderberg against defendant Mayo only. Defendant Mayo grabbed plaintiff Sanderberg's arm and handcuffed him. Plaintiff Sanderberg did not resist or otherwise obstruct defendant Officer Mayo's arrest of his person. Officer Mayo's actions were unreasonable based on the totality of the circumstances surrounding plaintiff's injuries. Defendant Mayo's actions were without justification or provocation. Mayo, as described above, was under the color of state law. Section 1983, count 3, illegal seizure by plaintiff Torkelson against defendant. Number 620, okay? Officer 620 arrived at plaintiff's residence. Officer 620 arrested plaintiff Torkelson. Officer 620's actions were under the color of state law. Officer 620, count 4, grabbed plaintiff Torkelson's arm and handcuffed her. Plaintiff Torkelson did not resist or otherwise obstruct defendant Officer 620's arrest. Officer 620 actions were unreasonable based upon the totality of circumstances. Officer 620's actions were without justification or provocation. Officer 620's actions were under the color of state law. Okay? Having asserted various causes of action and alleging facts in support thereof, the plaintiffs Sanderberg and Tarkelson pray for judgment and damages. Okay? Awarding the plaintiffs general and or compensatory damages, including without limitation for pain and suffering, blah, blah, blah. Okay? This is October 22nd, 2024. Okay, request for jury trial. Now let's go back to the my case. Let's see. So what happened with this? Look down here. Look down here. Look at this. Notice of removal to federal court last year. This went to federal court. What does this mean? What does this mean? Notice of removal to federal court. So 2025, this goes up to federal court. Okay. Keep that in the back of your mind. There's a reason for that. Let's go forward. All right. So let's read this guy's probable cause affidavit. And I think if I use this version, it's a little more legible. Just a moment. Try to make it zoomed in for you guys. Let's see. There you go. All right, so let's bring us forward to this current incident, okay, the current incident. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to describe to you in detail what this current incident is all about, and you're going to be flabbergasted. Flabbergasted. This is appalling, okay? It says, affiant swears or affirms that he or she believes and has good cause to believe that affiant Detective Garber of the Lake County Sheriff's Department was tasked with investigating a series of incidents that occurred on April 29th. Listen to the dates, 2025 and May 22nd, 2026. In Lake County, Indiana, during the course of my investigation, I received an email from Commander Adams of the Lake County Sheriff's Department. I believe Commander Adams to be truthful and credible as he spoke of facts contained within his personal knowledge. Commander Adams advised that on May 21st, 2026, Commander Adams received a firearm trace request from Deputy Prosecutor Dakota Ola regarding a Ruger C3 9mm bearing serial number ACN 724988. An e-trace is a tool that law enforcement uses that provides various information, including purchaser information and dates of sale for a particular firearm. The trace was associated with the upcoming trial of Taia Hill, okay, related to New Chicago Police Department case number, okay. During my investigation, I reviewed the incident report, which I believe to be truthful and credible, as it was kept in the ordinary course of business. I noted that the report documented that the recovered Ruger C3 9mm was secured as evidence with the New Chicago Police Department. Commander Adams advised that he contacted Lake County Detective Randall. Oh, that's another name, right? Randall to perform an e-trace. Commander Adams believed Detective Randall to be truthful and credible, as he spoke of facts contained within his personal knowledge. Detective Randall also serves as a task force officer with the ATF. Okay, this is where it gets spicy because the ATF is the one who did all this, but you'll see momentarily. Commander Adams provided Detective Randall with the firearm information for tracing purposes. Detective Randall subsequently advised Commander Adams that the firearm information provided was incorrect and that the weapon was actually a Taurus G3. Detective Randall stated that he would resubmit the trace request with the corrected information. So you guys starting to get a little hanky-panky here? Who's responsible for them having the weapon mistaken? Why does this police, why are these police with New Chicago reading a report wherein they're thinking they're looking at a Ruger C3, but what it actually turns out is that it's a Taurus G3? Did someone do a little manipulation of some reports or something when they stole this firearm? I don't know. So now we got the little hanky-panky which firearm it is, but we got a serial number. So now we're tracing the serial number. Now we're realizing we even got the wrong model and name brand or make and model. Okay. But what it says here is once they figure out that there's something afoot, they resubmit the trace. Okay. Later that evening on May 21st, 2026, Detective Randall advised Commander Adams that the firearm trace produced an unusual result. Specifically, the trace indicated that the firearm had been sold, right, on April 29th, 2025, a year ago, at Mega Cash Pawn Shop, located at 1035 37th Avenue in Hobart, in Lake County, Indiana. Well, this was notable as firearms connected to criminal investigations are typically retained by investigating law enforcement agencies pending trial proceedings because they're considered evidence in the upcoming trial. You see? I know from my training and experience that firearms maintained as evidence are not to be destroyed or otherwise disposed of or sold by the chief of police, absent a court order commanding the department to do such. On May 22nd, 2026, Detective Randall contacted Commander Adams with an update regarding the e-trace. Detective Randall advised that the firearm had been sold by Earl Mayo, the police chief. It should be noted that Earl Mayo is the chief of police for the New Chicago Police Department and was also the arresting officer in the case. So not only did he steal this gun, allegedly, to go sell to pawn for cash, but he was the arresting officer in the case in which the gun was being used as evidence. Yeah, true story. True. On May 22nd, 2026, Officer Goffin, a subordinate of Mayo's at the New Chicago Police Department, met with Detective Comis Rick of the Lake County Sheriff's Department. I believe Officer Goffin and Detective Comisrick to be truthful and credible as they spoke of facts contained within their personal knowledge. Officer Goffin stated that he received a phone call from the person he knows to be Earl Mayo requesting him to go to the pawn shop where he had sold the firearm and buy it back. So in other words, Police Chief Earl Mayo calls his subordinate, one of his officers, Officer Goffin, and says, Go to the mega cash pawn shop and hurry up and buy my gun back that I sold from evidence. Officer Goffin also stated that Earl Mayo had requested that he go to his house in Maryville and retrieve other firearms. Officer Goffin advised that Earl May specifically wanted Officer Goffin to retrieve suppressors or suppressed firearms from a safe in Earl Mayo's residence. Officer Goffin also stated that Earl Mayo had recently told Officer Goffin that he has things inside his residence that the feds would never find. Yeah. Officer Goffin stated that Earl Mayo had recently told him that he has things in his house that the feds would never find, which officer knew from previous conversations to include firearm suppressors. Well, guess what? That's all the feds would be interested in. They'd be interested in your suppressors and your machine guns because those are NFA items. So in other words, Police Chief of New Chicago, Earl Mayo, has dozens and dozens and dozens of weapons in his home, which certainly include dozens and dozens of federal NFA violations, because every single suppressor, whether you like it or not, look, I don't like the law because I think suppressors are good. They're good for your hearing. In any case, every single suppressor, you have to pay a tax stamp and apply for it. Every single machine gun, you have to pay a tax and apply for it. Every single short-barreled rifle, you have to pay a tax and apply for it. How many of those weapons and suppressors that Mayo had hidden in his safe were federal violations? Because he's telling his subordinate, I have shit in there the feds will never find. Can't make this up. Cannot make it up. Let's get back to it. During the course of my investigation, I had the occasion to speak with Commander Stahl of the Lake County Sheriff's Department. I believe Commander Stahl to be truthful and credible, and he spoke of facts contained within his personal knowledge. Commander Stahl advised that he attempted to make contact with the occupants of Earl Mayo's house in Maryville. Commander Stahl was able to make contact with an individual later identified as Tanika Borders at the front door of the residence. Commander Stahl reported that while making contact with Tanika Borders, she attempted to destroy several glass vials in her possession. Without being questioned, Tanika Borders advised that Earl Mayo had contacted her and told her to enter his home, collect his testosterone and his steroids. Commander Stahl believed Tanika Borders to be truthful and credible as she spoke against her own penal interest. Upon inspection of the vials that she was attempting to destroy, I lost my spot. Where am I? It was learned that several of the vials contained anabolic steroids, including trenbolone and equipoise. The vials of steroids were not labeled with a pharmacy label for whom the steroids were prescribed to. I know from my training and experience that trenbolone and equipoise in particular are veterinary grade steroids and not for human consumption. Officer Faison of the Lake County Police Department arrived on the scene shortly after, and Pat searched Tanika Borders and transported her to Lake County Jail. At the time of the incident, Tanika Borders was wearing a pink in color sweatpants and sweatshirt, commonly referred to as a tracksuit. Through the course of my investigation, it was discovered Tanika Borders is neither the parent of Earl Mayo, the child of Earl Mayo, nor is Tanika Borders the spouse of Earl Mayo, as he's currently married to Stephanie M. Peel. During the course of my investigation, I had occasion to review the report of Detective Facer of Lake County Sheriff's Department. I believe Detective Facer to be truthful and credible, as he spoke of facts contained within his personal knowledge. Detective Facer reported that on May 22nd, 2026, at approximately 10:45 a.m., Detective Facer was directed to Mega Cash Pawn Shop located in Hobart, Indiana, to recover a firearm that had illegally been pawned. Detective Facer arrived at Mega Cash Pawn Shop, and listen to this. This is spicy. Made contact with Dan Schuyler, identified via his own admission at a Spillman records check. Detective Facer believed Dan Schuyler to be, or Schuyler, to be truthful and credible, as he spoke of facts contained within his personal knowledge. Dan Schuyler advised that he was the manager of the business. Detective Facer reported that he observed two customers near the counter. One customer was an elderly black male in a button-up shirt with a cane. Huh? The second customer was a middle-aged black female dressed in a pink tracksuit. Detective Facer explained the reason for his visit to the business. He observed the female in the pink tracksuit, which gotta be Tanika Borders, right? Leave the store. Dan Schuyler was confused by Detective Facer's presence and explained he had already spoken with Chief Mayo. I just talked to the chief. Dan Schuyler advised that Chief Mayo was sending a female to pick up the firearm. Detective Facer recognized Chief Mayo to be Chief Earl Mayo of the New Chicago Police Department. Detective Facer asked Dan Schuyler if the Chief Mayo he was referring to was the Chief Earl Mayo of New Chicago Police Department, and Dan Schuyler confirmed that it was. Detective Facer informed Dan Schuyler that Detective Facer intended to seize a firearm identified as a Taurus G3 bearing the serial number ACN 724988. Dan Schuyler complied and provided Detective Facer with the Taurus G3 bearing the serial number. Detective Facer contacted Detective Alfonso Randall, Lake County Sheriff's ATF Task Force officer, and confirmed that this was the correct firearm and serial number. Detective Facer believed Detective Randall to be truthful and credible, as he spoke of facts contained within his personal knowledge. Detective Randall confirmed that this was the correct firearm, and Detective Facer then secured it. So they got the gun back. Dan Schuyler asked Detective Facer if the customer who purchased the firearm and returned it to Mega Cash Pawn at the request of Dan Schuyler and Earl Mayo would be compensated the $600 that Chief Mayo had promised. Dan Schuyler told Detective Facer that the elderly black male with the cane was the customer who returned the firearm, and advised that the male was still waiting in the store. Detective Facer made contact with the elderly black male and identified him via his Indiana State operator's license as Kenneth Sutton. Detective Facer believed Kenneth Sutton to be truthful and credible, as he spoke of facts contained within his personal knowledge. Detective Facer explained to Kenneth Sutton that he was seizing the firearm. Detective Facer advised Kenneth Sutton that he would not be receiving compensation for the Taurus G3. Kenneth Sutton was upset but understanding and cooperated with Detective Facer. While speaking with Detective Facer, Kenneth Sutton commented on a female that Chief Mayo had sent to the Mega Pawn and noted how fast she left. When Detective Facer arrived, she got the hell out of there. Detective Facer asked Kenneth Sutton and Dan Schuyler to describe the female, and they both confirmed that the black female in the pink tracksuit was the female sent by Chief Mayo. Neither Kenneth Sutton nor Dan Schuyler knew the female's name or identifiers. Kenneth Sutton and Dan Schuyler advised that the female had been sent with $600 by Chief Mayo with instructions to provide the money to Mr. Kenneth Sutton in exchange for the stolen firearm. Yeah, she skedaddled. She's like, oh, I'm out of here. This ain't my fucking circus. Okay. Detective Facer reported that Dan Schuyler, upset that Kenneth Sutton would not be receiving compensation for the firearm, called Earl Mayo in the presence of Detective Facer. Listen to this. Earl Mayo answered the call, but quickly hung up on Dan Schuyler and did not answer any other additional calls. See, this is what I mean when he got the hell out of Dodge, right? Dan Schuyler complied and supplied a receipt showing the purchase of 12 firearms by Mega Cash Pawn Shop from Earl Donnell Mayo on April 29th, 2025 for a total of $2,610. That's $2,600 for the 12 firearms that he sold to the pawn shop, which included this stolen gun. And who knows about the 11 others? During the course of my investigation, I had the occasion to review the paperwork documenting the sale of the Taurus G3. I believe this paperwork to be truthful and credible, as it was kept in the ordinary course of business of Mega Cash Pawn Shop. I observed that on April 29, 2025 at 1:37 p.m., Earl Mayo was listed as the seller of 12 firearms. The bill print that was collected, presuming to belong to Earl Mayo. I know from my training and experience that pawn shops will collect a finger or thumbprint of an individual seeking to pawn or sell firearms. During the course of my investigation, I had the occasion to speak to Detective Facer. I believe Detective Facer to be truthful and credible, as he spoke of facts contained within his own personal knowledge. Detective Facer advised that he responded to Earl Mayo's home in Maryville, Indiana, to assist officers in securing the residence. While on scene, Detective Facer observed that Tanika Borders was there and confirmed her to be the same female in the pink tracksuit that he had seen earlier that morning, skedaddling out of Mega Cash Pawn Shop and attempting to recover the Taurus G3. During the course of my investigation, I had the occasion to review the criminal history of Earl Donnell Mayo. I observed that on October 19th of 2000, Earl Donnell Mayo was convicted of theft, a Class A misdemeanor, in cause number 45 GO4 0002 DF 000019. All right, and as I mentioned, here are your charges. But I'm sorry, I can't get through this without laughing of how ludicrous it all is. Okay, there's all your charging document we already read. Okay, absolutely ludicrous what we're looking at here. Absolutely insane. So what happens is they go to Ohio. Okay, they go to Ohio. So look at here. Here we have Earl Donnell Mayo. Okay, this is 5/24 of 2026. This is a paperwork I got and I obtained from Ohio. Okay, so here's the jail records for Earl Mayo, arrested in Ohio. Okay, in Springfield. It says Clark County. Before me, clerk of Clark County Municipal Court of Springfield, Ohio, came Trooper Colton Platt, being sworn, does state that on or about May 22nd, 2026, one Earl Donnell Mayo in the city of Springfield, County of Clark, state of Ohio, is a fugitive from justice in the state of Indiana, where he stands charged with a crime committed in the state, to wit, Indiana, which acts or by the laws of the state an offense which have been committed in the state of Ohio would be the laws thereof being offense, and said, has fled from the state of Indiana and taken refuge in the state of Ohio and is now within Clark County. Okay, so remember when I told you at the beginning of the show that what they didn't say in that article was that he was arrested as being a fugitive from justice in Indiana. So he was picked up on behalf of Indiana as being a fugitive from justice. So see? And that's your receipt for such. Okay, sorry about that. I'm trying to get my stuff pulled up here. All right, now let's see if we're good to go here. All right, so now what I'm going to show you, I want to show you the thing that is, here's what you don't see in any of this. You don't see this reporting here. So let me show you this reporting, because this is where it gets very. All right, Earl Mayo, look at this one. Okay, unfucking believable. Look at this. Indiana Police Chief Earl Mayo arrested on a slew of charges after feds raid home, found steroids and more than 100 guns. Are you guys seeing that? More than 100 guns. So listen to this here. It says, Police Chief Earl Mayo was charged Sunday with misconduct, obstruction of justice, theft, unlawful possession. Earlier on Friday, county police and federal agents with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives had executed a search warrant, okay, at Mayo's Maryville, Indiana residence, where more than 100 guns were seized. Okay, more than 100 guns are seized when they go into his house, and that's the ATF, by the way. Okay. So here's a hypothetical for you. So he's got 100 guns in the house when they go to the house and execute the search warrant, right? And remember what he said in the other thing, right? What do they say in the let me see if I can manage. There you go. What did they say in the indictment? He tells his subordinate, the one he tells to go to his house and get all of these 100 guns. Think about it. Okay. Sorry. Scratch that reverse. He tried, remember in the indictment, he literally tried, let's go back to that. So in the indictment, he tried to get a subordinate, okay, to go over there, right? Remember this? He says, let me put it this one up. Goffin stated that that Earl Mayo asked him to go to his home and retrieve suppressors and suppressed firearms from a safe in Earl Mayo's residence. So Earl Mayo allegedly contacts his subordinate, one of his officers, and says, go to my house and get all the guns and the suppressors. And he says, I have things in the house the feds will never find. Remember that aspect? Okay, or that detail? Okay, so let's go back to this. So basically, They go exercise the search warrant. They find 100 guns that Officer Goffin was supposed to go retrieve. And I wonder how many suppressors they found, right? I wonder how many suppressors they found. Okay. So, I mean, just because we don't know that yet. So I guess what I'm saying is at this moment, we don't know what they found in that search warrant. We know the general term 100 guns. Okay, 100 guns they found at his house. Let's speculate here. So he's trying to hide illegal suppressors from the feds that are not NFA registered. Okay, so he's got 100 guns in there. He's trying to get his guy, his one of his officers, to go in there before the feds go find it. But unfortunately, the feds go find them, right? He's got 100 guns in there. A year ago, he went sell 12 in one shot at this pawn shop for $2,600. If he's got 100 more, then he could do that 10 more times. That's $26,000. Is this guy running some kind of racket? You think? You think he's running some kind of racket where he's getting these guns into his police department? Maybe he's doing buybacks. You know how these departments like to do the buybacks? Is he doing buybacks? Did he accidentally confuse? Was this all a mistake? In other words, did he accidentally take a gun from evidence that was a gun from the buyback program or something? Or is he just normally recycling these guns that are a result of arrests? Like, because if you got problems with crime on the street, okay, you have street crime, right? You got street crime. You got all these shootings. Like I said, most gun owners are law-abiding gun owners. They do a background check, they purchase the firearm, they use it for self-defense. They never go and rob stores, or rob old ladies and all this, that, and the other, and do drive-bys. But you got an epidemic of guns on the street that are not legally and lawfully owned and used. Is this guy contributing to this cancer? Is Earl Mayo, is the chief of police, flooding the streets of New Chicago and Lake County with firearms? In other words, is this a revolving door? I don't know. I'm just saying that something's smelling right. Something's smelling right here. He's got the ATF goes to his house with the feds and the state police or whatever. They find 100 weapons. We know they must have found some illegal suppressors and who knows what else. If he's bragging to his subordinate that I got shit in there the feds will never find, you see what I'm putting together here in my mind? And here's more receipts for you anyway. It says here that New Chicago police chief arrested in Ohio amid criminal investigation, right? Northwest Indiana small town police chief was being held in an Ohio jail Saturday and a criminal investigation underway. County police take over his own policing. Okay. The Times confirmed, this is Northwest Indiana Times. The Times confirmed through Clark County, Ohio jail records that he was arrested. Okay, Friday. Lake County Sheriff confirmed Friday night that his department has assumed all policing duties in New Chicago. And there's your guy. That's your guy. Those sources say more than 100 guns were seized in the search and that Mayo has been taken into custody and will be extradited. Can you believe it? More than 100 guns when they go bust his ass, right? They go bust his ass. Mayo is the son of Indiana State Police Major Jerry Williams, who recently won the Lake County Democratic primary and will be his party's nominee for sheriff in the November general election. Okay? Jerry Williams. So I did a little national Police Index looking into this guy. Check this out. New Chicago Police Department started January 7th, 2020. Right? North Judson Police Department started 2018. Resigned September 20th. And what is this in 2014? Indiana University Police Department. Start date, January 6th. End date, January 6th. Oh, did they accidentally do a background check on him? Unlike Lake County or New Chicago, did they accidentally do his background check after they hired him? So they hire him on January 6th, and then they're like, "Oh, you're discharged. You're discharged." I don't know. And then I realized there's another thing in his background that's kind of going on. So let's pull this up. So I find this with the help of my good friend here. We find this. Look, it says United States District Court. Okay, right? Northern District of Indiana, Hammond Division. Michael Cozart versus Bernard Carter, Miliana Peterson, prosecutor, deputy prosecutor, Sergeant Earl Mayo, New Chicago Police Department, okay, and others. And this is in United States District Court, March 18th, 2026. Listen to these allegations in this complaint. It says Michael Cozart has filed this verified complaint against the defendants, which include Earl Mayo. Okay. Jurisdiction of termination of abstention. Okay. Court has jurisdiction. Count 2, conspiracy and joint action. The conspirators. New Chicago Bar and Grill and Delgado acted under color of state law by conspiring with defendant Mayo, Earl Mayo, to protect the interests of the bar and manufacture a barrier case. Delgado and Mayo intentionally edited surveillance footage to omit an attack on the plaintiff okay, let me back this up. This guy, Michael Cozart, is facing battery charges in an incident. What it appears here is what he's alleging is that Delgado and Earl Mayo, I almost said El Mayo, kind of the same with these guys, right? Earl Mayo is maybe his role model is El Mayo, but anyhow, Delgado and Earl Mayo, and New Chicago Bar and Grill acted under color of law by conspiring, by editing surveillance footage, omitting or deleting the initial attack on the plaintiff, who is now charged with battery. Likely what he's claiming is that he's acting in self-defense. Okay? Investigatory evidence fabrication and forfeiture. Defendants Carter and Peterson acted in an investigatory capacity rather than an advocacy role. Now, Carter and Peterson, let's listen to who they are. By participating in the pre-arrest filtering, editing, and manufacturing of digital evidence and surveillance media to create a fraudulent probable cause narrative. These defendants performed functions typically reserved for police investigators. Because these acts occurred prior to the existence of probable cause and outside the judicial phase of the proceedings, defendants have forfeited all absolute immunity. Okay, actual malice is proven by the misdemeanor plea given to the shooter, Courtney Pratchett, while plaintiff, the victim, faces retaliatory felonies. Fourth and 14th Amendment, lethal force terrorism. defendant Hamed pointed a loaded firearm at a 10-year-old child. Now, Hamed, right, he's listed in here as Indiana State Police Officer, State Trooper, Allah Hamed. Okay, so State Trooper, ISP Trooper Hamed points a loaded firearm at a 10-year-old child and at the plaintiff. This conduct shocks the conscience. Hamed utilized the threat of child removal to extort an involuntary statement. Okay, and this is going to go into the use of the threat of CPS against this person. Okay, so see up here, Department of Child Services is named and the director of the Department of Child Services. So it says here that they point the gun at the 10-year-old and then State Trooper Hamed threatens to use Department of Child Services to remove the child from his home to extort an involuntary confession. Okay, count 4, state created danger and kid tracks fraud due to the fabricated barrier case. Minor, minor. There. Okay, I'm not going to name the minor, but there's a minor who sustained black eyes, slipper bruises, and gross neglect. State agents utilized the kid track system to fabricate an allergies narrative to conceal the battery. This is a 14th Amendment violation. Okay, disability discrimination, fabrication admissions. Defendants intentionally ignored the plaintiff's permanent leg disability to frame him as an aggressor while granting immunity to the actual non-disabled attacker. Plaintiff's permanent disability is a matter of medical record and was known that defendants intentionally ignored to manufacture a fraudulent aggressor narrative. Plaintiff alleges that Department of Child Services agents knowingly manufactured false statements and attributed fraudulent admissions to the plaintiff in official records. You see how every time we start with the really damning information, the trolls come in? Every single time we start with the really damning information, the trolls flood on in. Hey, trolls, thanks for confirming. Thanks for confirming all this shit is true. Thanks a lot. Okay, so obviously, yes, the state troopers pointing a gun at a child. The child gets physically assaulted, has black eyes, and all this other shit. They're threatening CPS to the parents to bully and try to get some admission. They fabricate evidence, right? It says DCS agents and Earl Mayo and the state trooper, right, manufacture false statements and fraudulent admissions, you know, after deleting the security footage that would have proved his innocence. Okay, specifically, the defendants fabricated allegations that plaintiff admitted to being a bad role model and making poor decisions and being unfit. Criminal coercion. Defendants further fabricated agreements where plaintiff allegedly consented to state-mandated programs due to unfitness. So they're weaponizing CPS, and this is Earl Mayo, this is the state police, and this is Department of Children or Child Services. These were extorted signatures obtained under the duress of retaliatory visitation cancellation and the physical torture of the minor. The town of New Chicago and other agencies maintained a custom and practice of targeted harassment. Remember, Earl Mayo is the chief of this police department. Plaintiff will provide extensive additional documentation upon request during discovery to show a systemic pattern of unlawful treatment spanning over a decade. The failure to supervise constitutes deliberate indifference. Okay? Here's what he's looking for. He wants punitive damages, compensatory damages. He wants a permanent injunction staying all retaliatory state proceedings, right? An immediate return of the minor child. He also wants a forensic audit mandate. He wants the ISP forensically audited, okay? Metadata and kid tracks medical logs. All right. And that's his entire complaint there. I'm just showing you all for completeness. All right. Now there's something I want to show that I neglected to. Let me pull it up real quick. I neglected to prepare. Let's see. I've just realized that I forgot something here. Oh, here it is. Okay, here it is. It's coming. All right. Just to prove to you guys, there's one other thing regarding that case. Let's see. We're going to bring it up. Okay, here's the document I wanted to share from that case. One more, because remember, this is where Earl Mayo is alleged to be a part of this entire conspiracy, right? But he says motion for recruitment of counsel. Listen to this one. Comes now the plaintiff Michael Cozart and moves to court for recruitment of counsel pursuant to 28 U.S. Code Section 1915. Right? Plaintiff states exceptional circumstances. This is not a standard civil rights claim. It involves cross-agency conspiracy, investigatory evidence fabrication, and state-created danger involving the physical torture of a minor ward. The litigation of this matter requires advanced digital forensic discovery. Plaintiff intends to move for a forensic audit of the Indiana State Police servers to extract native format metadata and low bitrate recovery of deleted or overwritten dash cam and body cam footage. So you see what they've done? They've deleted not only the surveillance footage from the establishment where this all occurred, they've also deleted body cam and dash cam or fleet cam footage. So he wants a forensic audit of ISP to recover this shit. Additionally, a forensic expert is required to audit the kid tracks metadata to prove the intentional fabrication of medical records to conceal foster care battery. Okay? Plaintiff has produced a certified transcript and a settlement which provides a strong showing of merit. However, the expert testimony required to authenticate the fabricated evidence and spoilated ISP videos beyond the capacity of a pro se layperson. So you see what this is about here? So this guy ain't playing around. He's not a liar. This guy's all he's wanting is the surveillance footage that was deleted or manipulated. He wants the body cam footage. He wants the fleet footage. He wants the kid tracks data from the Indiana State. He wants the whole Indiana State Police. He wants DCS, ISP, and Chief Earl Mayo to get off his back. Does this sound like Indiana to you? It kind of reminds me of Todd Click, to be honest with you, at this very moment in time. And Earl Mayo is all up in the middle of this. Okay, forget about the 100 firearms, forget about the illegal suppressors and the feds, and forget about the selling of evidence. You know, this is bad, dude. This is this guy's context. Now it gets even worse. Okay, because here's what I'm going to do for you now. I'm going to educate the public about what's really going on with this guy. Okay, let me help educate the public right now. Okay. Let's bring this up here. Especially you voters out there. This is for you voters. You voters need to know what you're actually dealing with in Indiana. I'm telling you, I'm so thirsty. I cannot handle it. But this right here, this is Earl Mayo's father. Okay, this is Earl Mayo's father right here. This is Indiana State Trooper Major Jerry Williams. Okay. I'll just give you the spoiler alert right now. Okay. Jerry Williams is Doug Carter's and Jerry Holman's right hand man. Okay. Jerry Williams, Doug Carter's right hand man. And I'm going to prove that to you now. This is not hyperbole. Okay. So you can see here he's running for sheriff of Lake County. Okay. He's running for sheriff of Lake County. This is from his very own campaign page. We don't need to do slander here. Okay, I'm going to teach you directly from his own campaign page. It says Major Jerry Williams has worked to make Indiana safer for Hoosier families for 35 years. Major Jerry Williams is currently serving as commander of Capitol Police and Security Operations for the Indiana State Police under Superintendent Anthony Scott. He is responsible for managing the overall enforcement and security operations within the Indiana government complex and state of Indiana government properties, which include the Indiana State Capitol, Indiana Court of Appeals, Indiana Supreme Court, Governor's Office, Lieutenant Governor's Office, Judges' Chambers, Government Centers, Governor's Residence. You get it? You get it? That's Earl Mayo's father, okay? Between 2014 and December of 2024, that's 10 years, okay? 2014 to 2024, Major Williams served on Superintendent Doug Carter's primary staff in the capacity of Assistant Chief of Staff of Logistics. Major Williams was responsible for and oversaw the maintenance of over $300 million in assets for the department, which includes all 13 state police post facilities and grounds, 4 regional laboratory facilities, general headquarters, aviation hangars, fixed-winged helicopters, microwave towers, everything, gun rangers, blah, blah, blah. Major Williams was also responsible for, and here's the kicker here, the construction of 3 new laboratory post-construction processes, each valued at $30 million, located in Judge Gall's stomping ground, right? Fort Wayne, in Jerry Holman's stomping ground, Lowell, and in Evansville. So that's right, Fort Wayne, Lowell, and Evansville, the new constructions, each valued at $30 million. Major Jerry Williams, Earl Mayo's dad, is responsible for overseeing all of that, and he's Douglas Carter's right-hand man for 10 years. All right. In his off-duty time, Jerry Williams is also a licensed real estate mogul, managing owner of Williams Executive Realty and Associates. Okay? So not only is he on the payroll and running all the big dollars shit in Indiana so this is basically ISP's like money man. Okay, think about it. He's currently commander of the entire Indiana government complex, Court of Appeals, Supreme Court, the governor's office, lieutenant governor's office, all the Supreme Court judges, the appellate judges, the Indiana government centers, also the governor's office, the governor's home, the Capitol Police. Okay, he's the head of all that shit. For 10 years was Doug Carter's right-hand man and oversaw all of the new construction in Indiana in Fort Wayne, Lowell, and Evansville. Okay? Major Williams believes in transparency. Well, that's what he's getting tonight. Okay? He believes transparency is critical to leading a public service team. Okay, he's known for speaking truthfully and candidly, even on tough topics. He was selected to serve as an internal investigator when he was promoted to first sergeant rank in 2007. In other words, he's from internal affairs, right? He's from internal affairs. This is where he's coming from. This is how he gets into Doug Carter's office. Former Gary Mayor Jerome Prince approached Superintendent Doug Carter from the Indiana State Police requesting assistance with an assessment and recommendations on restructuring the Gary Police Department. The request was agreed to by Doug Carter and Eric Holcomb. You see? Which turned into an 18-month process of collaboration between Jerry Williams, Doug Carter, and the city of Gary, Indiana. Superintendent Carter assigned Major Jerry Williams to coordinate and lead this police reform in Gary, Indiana process. This 18-month process included where Jerry Williams was asked to take a 6-month leave of absence from ISP to serve as interim chief of the Gary Police Department. It gets worse. Listen, okay? Douglas Carter says, Jerry Williams, Earl Mayo's dad, is my brother and my hero. And again, I'm just so crazy proud of him and proud of his family and proud of what he stands for, said Superintendent Doug Carter. Okay? Superintendent Doug Carter right there. Now, let me show you. This is from the Chicago Crusader. Okay? Gary Local News, September 20th, 2022. What is wrong with Gary Police Department? Is now what is wrong with Gary City Council. There's Doug Carter. You love him. You love him, right? Doug Carter. Money and manpower won't solve the problems inside Gary PD, says Doug Carter at Monday's press conference held in response to last week's Gary City Council Public Safety Committee hearing. Superintendent Carter left that meeting on September 7th with the observation, I don't see things going in a positive way. And since the day in April when Mayor Jerome Prince announced the partnership with the state police to help improve his city's PD, an ISP task force has studied police operations, and that's led by Jerry Williams, right? The 15 proposals or recommended changes included amending the current police policies, and 2 new policies requested by ISP task force need city council approval. 2 public safety committee hearings have been filed. The first on August 31st, the second on September 2nd. During last week's committee hearing, Council President William Godwin summarized the work of the task force in majoring the minors and overkill. Councilman Goodwin said, this doesn't solve anything. What we need is more pay for our officers. We need a grant writing team for our department that can go out and pursue federal dollars for equipment and training. I don't think this has been well thought out. It's a waste of time. Godwin's comments angered Carter. Okay? So Godwin wanted the feds to come in, bring in the money, bring in the federal programs, bring in the federal partnerships. Carter says, no, there are things that have got to happen swiftly and quickly in the Gary PD. Until we fix the foundation, recommendations for technology, equipment, and people won't matter. The amendments would give the Gary police chief responsibility in hiring and discipline of his officers. A result would be less authority for the Gary Police Civil Service Commission in those areas. So you see what's going on here? So what they're wanting to do is put more power in the Gary police chief, take less oversight for the Gary Police Department. Got it? And Doug Carter's totally against the authority of the Gary Police Civil Service Commission. He wants the chief of police of Gary to have all the power. So he's pissed. And his right-hand man is Earl Mayo's daddy, Jerry Williams, right here. Okay? Am I pointing the mouse at him? Carter said that there's a lot of doubt within the department. There's a lot of doubt within the department about what discipline means. I think a number of officers think discipline is subjective. Some thinks the chief doesn't have the authority to discipline like he should. The ambiguity affects morale and performance. So see, he's wanting more power in the hand of the police chief is what he was doing. What I hope to accomplish is very clear expectation of what happens if you do A, B, C, or D, or if you recommit or do something else. Fairness with discipline, fairness with the process, fairness with the appeal process. That's what we're trying to accomplish. Complete transparency. These ordinances tell you how to build a police culture, the structure, the methodology of policing. You see what's going on with the semantics here? Doug Carter was about centralizing power in the police chief's lap. Okay, he wanted the Gary police chief to have centralized power, and he was absolutely fucking pissed, and he sent in Earl Mayo's dad to do that, Major Jerry Williams. Okay. Godwin's comments also antagonized Mayor Prince. I want to thank the ISP for their support. The remarks made by President Godwin were unprofessional, derisive, and disrespectful. As mayor, I'm sorry those comments were made by one of our elected officials. President Godwin, in this particular instance, speaks for himself. He doesn't speak for the administration or the citizens of Gary. Lake County prosecutor Bernard Carter, remember he's also mentioned as a defendant in that lawsuit, responded to the question at a September 7th meeting. Why is the county involved in this? For someone to assume that I, as prosecutor elected by many citizens in Gary, that I am meddling is absolutely asinine. I believe in what the state police are doing. I'm here to stay and participate. As the prosecutor, I am the chief law enforcement officer in this county. I have the right to talk or to control what is brought to us as far as charges. Council President Godwin issued this statement in response to the press conference. All citizens should watch this meeting and reach their own conclusions about what happened. A truly collaborative process from beginning of the drafting these reform ordinances with the engagement of the council's public safety members, police commission members, and departmental leadership would have made this a far more inclusive process. But to draft 17 ordinance, email them and say, let's send it to the council for quick consideration, and then become angry when strong concerns and questions are raised is not a fair process. Do you see the battle that was going down in Gary, Indiana now? Do you see it? And Superintendent Carter and Earl Mayo's father are at the center of this fight to concentrate power in the police chief's seat. This is history in context. Okay, this is history in context. And then Doug Carter, of course, he has to come out. Of course, he has to come out with the scolding, the finger pointing, and the theatrics. Look at this, right? Chicago Post Tribune, right? ISP will continue to work with Gary to revise police procedures despite disagreements. And here comes the finger pointing. Look at him. He's letting your ass know. He's like, I'm Doug Carter. This is my rodeo. Okay, Doug Carter's not happy, so he has to make the press rounds. Chicago Tribune. All right. I apologize. There's Jerry Williams. There's your guy. Who's this? Bernard Carter. That's your prosecutor. Remember, all these guys are on the same team. Remember, this is Earl Mayo. Earl Mayo's father, Doug Carter. Right. This is your prosecutor, Carter. Okay. Here's some guys. Who are these guys? Right. Let's read the caption here. Gary and Indiana State Police listen. So you see the Gary Police and the Indiana State Troopers. They're listening. Like, what the fuck is this all about? What's going on here? Okay. Look at the faces of these cops. And there's your mayor. Okay, that's your mayor, Prince. Okay, that was your former mayor. So you see, okay, I want you guys to look at the faces of the speakers at the podium who are all trying to pull this scheme off, right? Look at these faces of these guys. And then look at the cops, your normal everyday cops. So this is your faces of the guys, right? You got Doug Carter, you got the mayor, okay? You got Jerry Williams, you got the prosecutor there, and look at your cops like, what the fuck? All your cops are like, what the fuck? Look, they're all biting their lips and shit. Okay, I'm just saying. Continue, Prof. Okay, I'll continue. September 12th, 2022. Anyhow. Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter said his team remains committed to the city of Gary, despite disparaging comments made towards him and his team at a recent Public Safety Committee meeting. Carter was joined by Gary Mayor Jerome Prince, ISP Major Jerry Williams, and Lake County Prosecutor Bernard Carter in a press conference at the Gary Police Department called to address the conflict. Okay, the conflict, right? The conflict. Superintendent Carter left last week's public safety meeting. Okay, Superintendent Carter left last week's public safety meeting visibly angered. Well, shit, he looks visibly angered here. You know, let's go back to that photo. He looks visibly angered there. Superintendent Carter said his team will continue to charge ahead, working to address the issues raised. He was taken aback. By comments at the meeting by Council President William Godwin, who characterized Carter as an outsider trying to tell city officials what to do. Godwin told Carter his actions were disrespectful. I don't think you'd come to Indianapolis or Hammond and talk that way. I know what he meant. I'm not going anywhere, Superintendent Carter said. Wow. We got a little controversy here in Gary, Indiana, right? Superintendent Carter stressed that expertise should matter when drafting ordinances. I'm not going to get in a tit and tat with a young man who has no idea what it means to run a police agency. I'd never pretend to run a real estate business or whatever that might be that he does, but it's really important that he hears us loud and clear. This is not political. If you don't like it, leave the country. Throwing more money and manpower. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to look for my mouse. Okay. Throwing more money and manpower at the situation is not going to work until the underlying issues with the department are dealing with the culture addressed, says Superintendent, Until we fix the foundation, none of that will matter. The process is not political. Much has changed since the process established to run the department, and the policies need to reflect those changes. There's a whole lot to be done with rules and regulations. And there's Mayo's dad, Jerry Williams, okay? The Public Safety Committee meeting held Wednesday to discuss the package of ordinances amending the current police policy and procedures devolved into a confrontation over control of the police department and who has a right to be providing input or controlling it. Godwin, who is also an attorney, responded to Superintendent Carter's comments in a statement following the press conference. He called the process unfair because he claimed it did not involve the council, Public Safety Committee, and departmental leadership, or the police commission. He said calling him merely a real estate agency discounts his role as an elected official. I've never claimed to be an expert on policing, but I do have a duty to ask questions, raise concerns, and demand solid research and explanations of proposals of any legislation, including reforms to the Gary Police Department. Okay? ISP Major Jerry Williams said Monday he would choose his words carefully as he addressed the comments from the Public Safety Committee meeting. He has been an integral part of the reworking process and has spent the past several months working in the city. The ISP came to the city of Gary at the request of the mayor to help conduct a wholesale review of the police department and city's public safety platform. Okay? Now, I'm going to fast forward through some of politicizing here, and just let me show you All right, the rest of the article. So you can see the controversy brewing, right? Well, let me show you what happened here. Wouldn't you fucking know it? Wouldn't you fucking know it? Can you believe this? Can you believe this? It gets better. It gets better too. So what do they do? They throw Jerry Williams into the police chief position, right? Look at Carter, pissed. He's still pissed. Oh my God. He's still pissed. He said, I'm going to make him police chief. Gary Mayor, Jerome Prince, Friday named former Indiana State Police Chief Major Jerry Williams the city's new interim police chief. The decision comes at the end of a nationwide search. They looked all over the nation. Okay, they looked all over the nation for police chief for Gary, Indiana, and they could not find anybody. Okay, so who do they find? They find Doug Carter's right-hand man, Jerry Williams, who's struggling for control of the police chief. When I'm saying there's no way on earth that you could make this shit up. The decision comes in at an end of a nationwide search for a new police chief, conducted in partnership with the Indiana State Police. Prince said the search, which was conducted by an independent committee. What the fuck? Okay, we get an independent committee with no representation from the mayor's office. Okay, no representation from the mayor's office. Nationwide search, independent committee. We produce 3 highly qualified candidates for the mayor to choose. And who does he choose? Jerry Williams, Doug Carter's right-hand man and Earl Mayo's father. That is right, y'all. Ladies and gentlemen, this is fuckery at its finest. At this time, Prince said he decided to go in a different direction and tap Williams, a Gary native, to take on the role of interim chief to continue the work retooling the department that began with the ISP partnership in May. I made this decision after deep and serious consideration, and the ultimate choice of Major Williams is not a slight to the men and women who continue to serve, and not to minimize the value of the 3 finalists from the independent committee that I choose to ignore. Woo! Oh my God. Where's my sound effect? Bruh, this is bullshit allowed, though. At least I'll get Martin up here. Where's Martin? Come on, Martin.
This is bullshit allowed, though.
This is bullshit allowed, though. I'm legally blind. I mean, if I wouldn't point it out to y'all, would y'all see it? Delphi murders. Jerry Holman. Oh my God. Doug Carter. The tentacles. The tentacles run deep, y'all. This is bullshit allowed, though. Oh my God. The appointment is expected to last through July, but could be extended, Prince said. Williams would not say if he would be interested in a position on a permanent basis, only saying he loves the city of Gary. Williams has the support of ISP Superintendent Douglas Carter and Governor Eric Holcomb's office. Can we say Chomos and Rico? Can we say Chomos and Rico? He has played a leading role in the partnership between the 2 agencies. Adams Williams' insight and guidance throughout the process was appreciated. I know Chief Williams will hit the ground running, and I believe he's the best man for the job, despite a nationwide search for a fucking guy to fill these shoes. All right, and there's your prosecutor who's shitting bricks. You know what I mean? That's your prosecutor who's probably currently shitting bricks over all this. All right, let's keep going. Williams said his plan moving forward will be to do a hard reset of the police department. Hard reset and continue to advance the work he has done through the ISP partnership the past 8 months. Okay. Now, you guys think I'm shitting you? Okay. You guys think I'm shitting you? Okay. You guys think I'm shitting you? Look at this shit. Look at this shit. This right here. Okay. That's Mayo's dad. Okay. This is Mayo's dad. This is Doug Carter, obviously. And this is your mayor, right? Your mayor, Jerome Prince. Okay. Partnership expected to last 90 days, but has remained in place. Okay. Okay. Now look at this. Look at this. What happens next, Profi Poo? Okay, I'm just going to show you. This is not the only article. Indiana Economic Digest also wrote an article on these happenings. A new day for Gary City Police gets a new chief. Okay, Gary City gets a new chief. Okay, and you can see here, I'm not going to read through that one, but here you're going to see Mayor Prince sticks with Indiana State Police to lead Gary Police Department. Doug Carter, Jerome Prince, interim police chief Gary Williams, and Lake County prosecutor Bernard Carter. Here are your guys, bro. These are your guys. These are your big guys. Okay. Friday's announcement naming Indiana State Police Major Jerry Williams as Gary's interim chief of police came after 8 months. After 8 months after Doug Carter committed to a partnership with Mayor Jerome Prince. The partnership pledged to create a task force. Okay. I'm excited to have Chief Williams on board to guide our police department in new directions. Okay. He's the right person for the right job at the right time, Prince said. You know, setting aside the 3 finalists from the national search for a qualified police chief. Yeah, fuck a national search. Like I guess I'd say this: fuck the national search. We have our own guy on the inside. Fuck the national search. We don't need no national search. We got our own guy. Okay. Okay. Now, give me a moment. Okay, I'm settling down. I guess I'm settling down again. I got too ecstatic, or I don't know. Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter. Okay. Indiana State Police Major, former interim Gary Police Chief presented with key to the city. Hey, that's the one I wanted to pull up. What happened? Okay, there we go. Sorry. Wouldn't you know it? They give him the key to the city. They give him the key to the city. Okay, so here's what they do. This is from Lakeshore Public Media, Public Broadcasting, right? They say, hey, we're going to give Jerry Williams the key to the city. As Gary Mayor Jerome Prince prepares to leave office, he's honoring one of the key organizers behind a major initiative of his term. On Tuesday, Prince presented the key to the city to Indiana State Police Major Jerry Williams. Williams led an 18-month review of the Gary Police Department policies and ending up serving as interim police chief. Okay. Wow, the little kid that grew up just a few blocks away, maybe a different time. The economy was different. Our infrastructure here in Gary was different. Steel mills were there, everything. I'm naive enough to think that this room demonstrates that we can once again be the focal point of Indiana. Prince honored Williams for his 34-year career in law enforcement and willingness to go above and beyond. He said one of the highlights is when he looks back on his term as mayor is when he first proposed a partnership to Jerry Williams. Okay. During Tuesday's event, State Police Superintendent Doug Carter, right, current Gary Police Chief Anthony Titus, and even Major Williams himself admitted they weren't sure about the idea at first, but Carter said Williams was able to convince him, and now he believes it was one of the most important initiatives of his career. Jerry Williams is my hero, and he's my brother. And again, I'm just so crazy proud of him and proud of his family and proud of what he stands for. Okay? And that's another article, this time by Chicago Tribune. Gary Mayer honors former interim police chief Jerry Williams with key to the city. And it's more of the same. You give him the key to the city. And there's Doug Carter. What's that hand symbol? What kind of hand symbol is that Doug Carter's pulling off right there? And look, this one too. What are these two guys? What does this hand symbol mean in, like, I don't know, Masonic fucking hand symboling? Why are these two guys making the same hand symbol? What's it like? What is this? I don't know. We got any secret society members out there? What the fuck is that? What are the hand symbols awkwardly being displayed here? Anyway. And there he is. There he is. That's Titus, police chief. Hey? Jerry Williams, how I got here. Major Jerry Williams rose to his current rank in 2014 and serves on the Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter's executive staff. He's the highest ranking African American in the state police out of 11,000 troopers. Highest ranking African American in the Indiana State Police. Major Williams oversees the maintenance of some $300 million worth of assets, including buildings, aircraft, and the entire fleet of more than 1,800 vehicles. He also coordinated the construction of 3 new facilities. One of them, the new ISP post in Lowell, 60 miles south of Chicago. Can you say Jerry Holman? Can you say Jerry Holman?
This is bullshit, Alado.
Bruh. But one of the projects closest to his heart is the 6 months he took a leave of absence from ISP to serve as police chief Gary Police Department in 2023. Williams says he left Gary officers in a better position to make his childhood home safer. Okay? It was a history-making partnership that transcended party politics, pulling much-needed resources to a city unfortunately known for its struggles with violent crime. Whoa, but his son's putting guns back on the street? Bruh. Our legislators, our politicians, also have to be engaged in the process actively. They have to put their differences to the side as well, too, and really make the public safety one of the focal points. I often talk about Superintendent Doug Carter and Governor Eric Holcomb because when the then Mayor Prince came to me and said we need some help with public safety, when I approached him on the phone call I had gotten from Mayor Prince, we'd never done anything like this in police history, of Indiana State Police history. State police agencies and highway patrol agencies historically are very cautious on how much they immerse themselves into local government and local politics. Major Williams added. So what I'll say about politicians, not the superintendent, but the governor, is that both of those gentlemen, without hesitation, put and offered whatever resources they could get leverage from a state perspective for my hometown of Gary. We've had requests over my 30-year period from other mayors that have asked for assistance from the state police, but this was different than any other. This was the superintendent and the governor, Doug Carter and Eric Holcomb, literally opening up the playbook and giving it to me. Earl Mayo's father, saying, hey, whatever you could possibly need, here it is. And if you need a pink elephant or a pink tracksuit, let us know. And we'll try to help you find that too. And this is unique, right? Because these gentlemen are from a different party, right? I'm a Democrat. These are Republicans. Gary is primarily Democrat. And they could have easily said, no, thank you. 2 wings, 1 bird, y'all. 2 wings, 1 bird. That's what this is, okay? This is 2 wings, 1 bird. Republican schmuglican, Democrat shimocrat. 2 wings, same bird here. They are Republicans. Gary is primarily Democrat. So am I. But they could have easily said no. And 2 wings, same bird, y'all. Oh, and what is this, Prof? Let's zoom it in for you. This is from Spotlight on Lake. First Sergeant Terrence Weems promoted to Lowell District Lieutenant. Oh, that's interesting. What is this? Indiana State Police Superintendent Douglas G. Carter announced the promotion of First Sergeant Terrence F. Weems to the rank of lieutenant. Lieutenant Weems has served as a Lowell First Sergeant for previous 16 years. Lieutenant Weems underwent a rigorous promotion process, including a comprehensive written test, oral interview, and thorough assessment of his overall work performance. A native of Gary, Indiana, Lieutenant Weems graduated from William Ritt High School in 1990. He continued his education, receiving a BA in sociology from Indiana University Northwest. Lieutenant Weems was selected to attend and graduated from the 51st Indiana Police State Recruit Academy on December 9, 1994. He was subsequently assigned to the Lowell Post, where he patrolled Lake County. Throughout his tenure with Indiana State Police, Lieutenant Weems has been assigned to several different specialty units, including the following. Listen to this. Motorcycle Patrol Unit, Gaming Division. Sorry, I don't have my sound effects ready. Gaming Division.
Bruh.
Problem-Oriented Police Unit, FBI Grit Task Force, Crash Reconstructionist, Field Training Officer, and MCSAP Level 3 Truck Inspector. In 2022, Lieutenant Weems was selected to attend and graduated from the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia. Lieutenant Weems has attended numerous other trainings to include the IASP Supervisor School, Northwestern University Center for Public Safety, Police Staff and Command, Reed School of Interview and Interrogation.
Bruh. This is bullshit, alive, though.
Institute of Police Technology and Management Crash Reconstruction School, and the Northwestern University Harley-Davidson Motor School.
I'm legally blind.
Lieutenant Weems is active in his community and church. In Logan Park Assembly of Christ Church, located in Gary, Lieutenant Weems is the proud parent of 3 children, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Superintendent Doug Carter and Major Jerry Williams pinning Lieutenant Weems' uniform. Sounds familiar? Did this guy sound familiar? His entire training sounds like someone else I know in the Lowell Post. Right? Look at this again. This entire training, right? Motorcycle, gaming, Grit FBI Task Force, Field Training Officer, Quantico, Virginia, FBI National Academy, Supervisor School of State Police, Reed School of Interview Interrogation, Reed Technique. And who pins his uniform? None other than Doug Carter and Jerry Williams. Superintendent Doug Carter and Major Jerry Williams pin him up to lieutenant in Lowell, Indiana. First sergeant in Lowell for 16 years. Now lieutenant. And here you have, all the way to your left, is Earl Mayo. And in the middle, there's Major Jerry Williams. So back to his probable cause affidavit, which we've already read through. I'll skip through some of that. I just wanted to show it here. Again, he's looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 felonies and a Class A misdemeanor. Defendant found in jurisdiction where? Can I blow that up for you? It says charges: theft, theft of a firearm, official misconduct, obstruction of justice, possession of anabolic steroids, etc., etc. Theft, again, Clark Springfield, Ohio. Okay. Now, what's difficult here? I want you to look at this page real good. Look at this page real good. Case number 45, name of defendants, Earl Donnell Mayo. Prosecuting attorney, Bernard Carter. Hold on. Are you telling me this guy has to arrest his best friend's son? Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you. So now this guy is charged with prosecuting his best friend's son. I mean, remember, let me show you this photo, just in case you forgot. Come on, Prof. Remember, that's Bernard, right? That's Bernard Carter. That's Jerry Williams. as Doug Carter. Okay, so now Bernard Carter has to prosecute Jerry Williams' son. Huh. Sound like a conflict of interest? Does this sound like a conflict of interest to you? Again, Bernard Carter, prosecuting attorney, 7 felonies and a misdemeanor. Bernard Carter, you might want to recuse yourself or I don't know, man, you got a conflict of interest. How are you going to prosecute fairly and diligently the son of your good friend, Jerry Williams, and the son of Doug Carter's best friend, Jerry Williams? Doug Carter's right-hand man. This is what I'm trying to relay to you all. This is Doug Carter's literal right-hand man. How is he going to prosecute Doug Carter's right-hand man to the fullest extent of the law? And remember, Jerry Williams is running now. You can't make this shit up, for sheriff of Lake County. Jerry Williams is a longtime Indiana State Police major who recently served as interim police chief for the city of Gary. He's currently running for Lake County Sheriff. In November, he's on the ballot. So not only do you have Stacey Diener on the ballot, you got Jerry Williams on the ballot, while his best friend prosecutes his son for all of the charges we read about in the opening documents. You know, like I said, we're talking about this. We're talking about this. And remember, what's hanging over all of this right now? Let me see if I can, I don't know, did I already X out of those things? Remember how we started. You know, Mayo is the son of Lake County Democratic Sheriff nominee who's running in November. Where is it? New Chicago town officials couldn't immediately determine if they even completed a background check on Police Chief Earl Mayo. Remember, they can't remember if they did a background check. They can't remember if how they. We don't know. People trusted him. We don't know. He's worked for 5 years. We have no explanation. You know, remember? We don't know how this happened. I guess we didn't do a background check. And it looks like I've lost. Let me see if I can go get it again. The article I wanted to show. Let's see. And remember that as part of this whole thing, right? Here it is. As part of this whole thing, they raid his home. ATF raids his home. They find more than 100 guns. Okay? They raid his gun. They find more than 100 guns. More than 100 guns. And remember here in the probable cause affidavit here, it says that he also had illegal suppressors that the feds would never find in his safe. It was interesting here because I was doing a little reading on Facebook and I saw this right here. It says Austin Williams says, same bitch ass cop that arrested me, planting shit on me, and stopped me at the light in the middle of 30, took me out of the car, makes me whatever, and tases me while I'm handcuffed. Okay? Arrested me, planting shit on me, stopped me in the middle of the light, took me out of the car, and tased me while I was handcuffed. I've been telling everybody he was crooked, and nobody believed me when I said he put that shit in my car. Tony Hawkins says, Austin Williams, maybe you guys can get into a class action lawsuit. There's a lot of people saying some crazy shit on the Lake Station page. Hey, anybody got the Lake Station page out there? I don't know what the Lake Station page is. Maybe an Indiana resident can help me out. Send me the Lake Station page. What else we got on this? Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, that's my brief survey of the landscape around the arrest of Earl Mayo. And as I mentioned, Indiana State Police utterly humiliated as another dirty cop is exposed. And here in my thumbnail, you got Jerry Williams, Doug Carter's right-hand man. You can see he's even on Doug Carter's right hand. You see Doug Carter obviously yelling and fussing at some people, like leave the country, you don't like it. You've got our clown, Earl Mayo there, disgraced, dirty, crooked, scumbag cop, allegedly, Earl Mayo, wearing the clown wig and all. And you got a stack of dollars up at the top of, you got a bar or whatever. You got a Rico with a question mark. Remember, this entire thing, the ATF executed that search warrant. The feds. As I was mentioning, if they pulled 100 guns out of that house, out of Earl Mayo's house, they pull 100 guns out. We already have reason to believe he had multiple suppressors, likely illegally. Who knows how many of those firearms, of those 100 guns they pulled out, who knows how many of those were illegal firearms or stolen firearms, or maybe even coming from the evidence locker. So in a way, we have a lot of time. We have a lot of time for the fruits of this search, right? Remember, the fruit of the poisonous tree, you better do it the right way. I guarantee you the feds did this the right way. Because the feds go in there, execute a search warrant. They come out with 100 guns and a bunch of suppressors. I think we're going to possibly see some more charges on Earl Mayo. He's got the 7 felonies and the 1 misdemeanor already. How many of those firearms are he going to be prosecuted for? How many of those suppressors is he going to be prosecuted for? It's a wait and see thing right now. All we know is his dad's best friend is prosecuting him now on behalf of the feds. Are the feds going to prosecute him? I don't know, man. This is Indiana at its finest. But it's contingent upon us. It's our obligation to shine the spotlight on the dirty, crooked cops who are doing shit like stealing, embezzling, beating, destroying evidence, stealing evidence, selling illegal guns out on the street so they can be used again in future crimes, possibly even directed back towards them. It's cops like this that give the badge a bad name. It's incumbent upon us to shine the light on these dirty cops and this egregious behavior so that it stops. You can't sweep this under the table. You can't pretend this never happens. You can't deny that there are dirty, crooked cops in Indiana, because obviously there are. How many more like Jerry Williams' son are there on the street? How many more like Earl Mayo are running police departments in Indiana, in Ohio, in Illinois? How many more police chiefs are doing this kind of shit? Kudos to his subordinate. Okay, I want to give particular shout out to what is it, Officer Goffin. Okay, shout out Officer Goffin for having the backbone to not commit crimes for your superior. I'm proud of you. You did the right thing, and I'm glad you're working to shed light on what this guy was doing, because you made the right decision. He made the wrong decisions. So that's going to do it for our show, but I hope you all enjoyed learning about this entire web of tentacles here. Remember, Doug Carter, Jerry Williams, Jerry Holman, Earl Mayo, Lowell, Indiana, Lake County as a whole, New Chicago, Oscar Martinez, sheriff's election coming up in November. There's a lot here. So we'll be keeping our eye on this. You know I will, because I want to hold accountability here. So we'll be keeping our eye on this. I'll be reporting to you whatever happens. I'm anticipating a bunch more felonies come down for any of those guns that were NFA items, for any of those suppressors that were NFA items, for any triggers that might have been NFA triggers, and for any of that was stolen. And hey, if he's done this once last year, how many times before has he sold firearms that he stole from his own department? I don't know. I'm just saying. How many others? How many times before has this happened? Or is he just really unlucky? He got caught the first time. Oh, shame. What a shame. What a shame. He got caught. All right. I'll see you guys later. Happy Wednesday. Okay. Happy Wednesday. God bless you all. It's a nice Wednesday. Hey, maybe I'll see you tomorrow night on a live. I hope so. This was Indiana State Police, humiliated as another dirty cop exposed. Earl Mayo, Jerry Williams, Doug Carter. Do better. Anyway, God bless. I'll leave you up with the clowns, and I'm out of here. God bless United States of America. God bless you all, and God bless Libby and Abby. We'll check you guys out later. Peace out.
It was our job to help law enforcement.
Bruh.
Prof is a fucking terrorist, a fucking pedophile, sympathizing fucking terrorist.
It's not productive. It's kind of gross and icky.
Prof is a fucking terrorist. A fucking pedophile, sympathizing fucking terrorist.
It was our job to help law enforcement.
This is bullshit, Alado.
It's not productive. It's kind of gross and icky. And I feel like it tells us more about them than the people they're trying to degrade. They're always trying to degrade someone.
Prof is a fucking terrorist.
It was our job to help law enforcement.
This is bullshit, Alado. Bruh.